My name is Karina Tiotuico. I am 56 years old and I am living with my son in a homeless shelter in Manhattan. I am living in the shelter over 2 years. Moving to New York was not easy, but it was my son's decision. And based on my son's education, we moved to New York. He got a scholarship in Juilliard as a pianist, but then afterwards he chose the pipe organ, or I might think the pipe organ chose him.
I just get really frustrated when I see we're not out yet. It's been 2 years, and that's not exactly the right amount of time for, living in a shelter. I think it's by at least 1 year, right? You could just move out and go to your apartment or whatever.
Homelessness in New York City is currently at record levels. It's at the highest levels it's been since the Great Depression of the 1930s. And in fact, the nightly shelter census in New York City is about 74% higher now than it was in 2007. People get stuck in the shelter system because it's very difficult to find affordable apartments that they can move into if they leave the shelter system. Even people who have rental subsidies and vouchers in hand are not often able to find a vacant unit that is within the rental range for their voucher. So what we really need to do to tackle this problem is to invest more in constructing new units of affordable housing.
I don't know what should I do, but they gave me all kinds of answers. They don't have apartments. Then the public assistance dropped, and they lost my documents. And because they lost my documents, I had to wait for another 2 months or 3 months. We want an apartment at least for 1 bedroom, because I can sleep in the living room and then on a couch, nice and comfortable, and then my son in a bedroom.
So homelessness is traumatic for anyone, but it can be particularly damaging for children, and especially students who are trying to keep up with their stably housed peers in school while also dealing with all of these stresses outside of the classroom. There are currently about 23,000 children sleeping every single night in New York City shelters, and over the last fiscal year there were 45,000 different New York City children who spent some time in a shelter.
Sophomore year, no, it was after freshman year, I had bad anxiety. It's mostly gone now, but I had the worst anxiety where I thought I'd have everything because I looked up symptoms stupidly. Excuse me, one time I thought I was having a heart attack, one time I thought I was having cancer or something like that. So we actually had to go to a lot of doctors in that year, and that's really when my grade kind of dropped. So the distraction is basically my music, and my schoolwork actually prevents me from having that type of anxiety again.
It is not easy to see for a mother that the son for 16-year-old has to live in a shelter and struggling. And I hope so, what I said for Christmas, that I can have a better life for him. And I just hope, because we have hope in God and not in nobody else here. And we hope that God gave us a better life.
Housing instability and the affordable housing crisis is something that affects most New Yorkers. And if we acknowledge the ways in which that very common crisis is fueling the gross injustice of mass homelessness in New York City, I think that people will be more energized and galvanized to affect change on the scale that we really need.